So Scarlet and Violet just came out. Was Nintendo's arguably biggest project. Everybody was excited for a new mainstream Pokemon game dual release. Last time that happened was Sword Shield, and it turned out okay. Just okay. We got Legends of Arceus and Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. That was Diamond Pearl remakes, right? Everybody just paid attention to Legends of Arceus after that. But now we're on Scarlet and Violet, Generation 9. It's been a long time coming for this to happen. And after playing through the entire main story, finishing all the quests, doing most of the side quests, I think it's fair for me to give my thoughts and review of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Okay, I'm gonna just put this in here now. This is going to be a spoiler review. So if you don't want spoilers, click off it now. I'm telling you right now. Just wait before you leave though. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the like. Watch my videos. Now I'm shamelessly plugged. Now you can leave. Okay, for those who stayed, follow my advice earlier. But so first off, we're gonna start off with the cons. We're gonna get with the bad and then talk about the good. The bad cons. Performance. We're just gonna rip this Bandai. If you're looking for a Pokemon Scarlet Violet review, you knew what was coming. We're gonna talk about the performance. We have to just rip that Bandai off right now. So it's not a surprise to say that the performance in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet was not okay. The game was lacklusterly optimized. Not to say a game can't have performance issues, but performance issues of this extent is pretty bad. If I had to say, it's not as bad as Cyberpunk, but then it's bad. For example, in my playthrough of Scarlet, I had a bug where the Elite Four music did not start. It was stuck on the same 10-second loop the entire time, so I did not get to hear the whole theme for the Elite Four, which I didn't know until I looked up the themes because I wanted to listen to them online. Same thing for the champion battle. It was stuck on the same 10-second loop in the beginning, so I didn't hear the full song. And I get to tell you why that's important later on in the video. Turn on, there was also just overall performance issues where it was buggy, stuttering, frame drops to the wazoo. It was pretty bad. You can count the pixels and frame rate of the game. You can count it with your eye. And one person eventually somehow found out that by transferring your game from your SD card to the Switch's storage device itself, it made the game much smoother. I wish I knew that when I first played the game because I had it on the SD card. Figure it's not a major change, but it was a noticeably helpful improvement of the game state. Turn on with all the other major bugs that came out at launch, such as duplicating your box legendary, certain shiny Pokemon only being available during a certain time of day, duplicating items, game crashes, falling through the fucking map. It was a tale of its own. And then that gets us into graphics. When we say graphics in Pokemon game, they don't really go hand to hand that well. There were games that were okay, and then games that just kind of gave up, aka this game. The overworld graphics, if you're this ties into performance, but if you are far away from something, you're going to notice it was drawn by a 5-year-old. In fact, I won't be surprised if it was drawn by a 5-year-old. Some of the graphics in the game just didn't hit, but the game itself looks good. If the game performed better, if the game looked better. Some of the areas in the game, such as Area 0, could have looked amazing. Even if you didn't have the Switch OLED model, which I don't. Having better performance and graphics in certain areas would have made a much bigger difference. The graphics is not as big as an issue though, compared to this next issue, which is a lack of a substantial post-game. So once you beat the main story, you beat the final boss. There was a very substantial lack of a post-game, or at least a proper one. Each game has to add its own post-game, even if it was minor, to it. In Sun Moon, there was a battle tower. No. Yeah, even in Sun Moon and Sword Shield, there was Wi-Fi battling. There was certain post-game legendaries you could catch. In this game, Scarlet Violet, there's the Ace Tournament, which no one really cares about unless you're money farming. Or, there's the legendaries and raids, and that's it. And for the first time in a mainline Pokemon game, explaining things like Legends of Arceus, where there's no Elite Four, so it's not fair to compare, you can't rematch the Elite Four. So when I said earlier, where I didn't hear the first 10 seconds of the Elite Four and Champion song, that was the only time I could have heard it, and my game bugged, and I didn't know about it until after I saved. So, I never heard the full song in-game, and I can't go back to rematch that, in which case, there's no rematch in the first place. So if you want to grab money if you want to battle the champion any Elite Four members, you can't do that. It really doesn't help there isn't a battle tower either. There's no real like hard event you can grind where you fight trainers or high difficulty trainers even after you get all the Pokemon to level 100. The only thing left in the post game in Scarlet Violet is 1, the post game legendaries, and 2, the raids. In which case people have already found an optimal setup and are raping them. That Charizard doing that right now? Yeah, Azumarill Belly Drum, that thing's gonna get fucked by a fairy.
Now, I tell you what, I like you, and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way.
And now, my last complaint for the game. The story, in which it... Okay. Right now, this is me nitpicking the story, so I'll explain why later. This is my nitpicks. 1, there's no level scaling. So, what could happen is that you could take on all the more difficult gyms early in the game. And then, for the very last gym you need to beat. For example, you can do gym 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and skip 2. Now you have level 60 Pokemon, and you want to go back to the second gym, right? Well, it turns out there's no level scaling, so those Pokemon at that second gym are stuck on that level it's supposed to be. You did it out of order, and now you're just gonna pub stomp the team. That's what I mean by level scaling. So, it kind of just broke the immersion at times. So you prepared for a team, or prepared for a fight. It turns out you skip one, and it turns out you just kind of wash it with one Pokemon. That happened to me a few times, where I just over-prepared, and because there's no level scaling, it kind of ruined the experience of that battle. Because it was just way too easy, because you over-prepared for something else. There's a lot of background lore hidden throughout the game, which I like, but you have to go out of your way to find it, in which case, that's the classes. If you don't take your classes, you're gonna miss out on some, I would say, important lore. For example, for the post-game legendaries, you don't get the locations on where to find where they're being sealed at unless you take all the history classes. In which case, some people are not gonna bother with that. So, having certain pieces of the game be locked behind a thing that most people are not gonna go look at. Think about this logically. You're asking people in a Pokemon game to go to school. Most kids don't even want to go to school in real life. What makes you think they want to do it in a video game? I'm not complaining about the lore and background story in this game. I just wish it was more out there. Maybe if you had to take classes in between each gym badge or Titan, where you got lore in between, I think that could have been a much better way of doing it, instead of it being out of the way. And I guess this is more so a complaint about the battling, but most of the fights were not that challenging, with some exceptions, them being Eri, Nemona, and the AI professors. Those were kind of hard fights, but most of them were pretty damn easy. I literally used up the Elite Four with my max caliber, so yeah. But I've done shitting on the game Now I'm done. I'm done. If you're here to hear me shut on the game, I'm done with it. Okay, pros. Even though I shot on the graphics earlier, I have to give admission to the team that worked on the Pokemon. For the Pokemon themselves, this was, without a doubt, the best they have looked in the game in the entire franchise's history. With the textures, reflections, they looked very, very good. Even if the animations were limited in themselves, the Pokemon just looked so damn good, and being able to throw them out really helps set in stone how good the Pokemon look. So, Pokemon design team, not design team, but the Pokemon design team, I'll give you a good gold star. I hope you work on the next game and deliver this kind of quality. The music, I would say this is one of the games where it has some of the best music I've heard in the franchise. If you know what songs I'm talking about, you know what songs I'm talking about. Penny did not have to go that hard within that OST, but damn. As you might be able to guess, I've been putting in some of the OST throughout this video, so enjoy it while you can. If you missed some songs, this is a good time to hear some songs you might have overlooked or didn't pay attention to enough. Cause damn, some of them slap. And you can kind of attribute this to Toby Fox. He worked on a bunch of songs in this game. Sans himself blessed down some of the hardest hitting songs in the Pokemon game you've ever heard. And it helped make the game a lot. So thank you, Toby Fox, as well. And now we're gonna go into actual, the games themselves. So, what I'm talking about is design philosophies such as agency and player freedom. This is the most free, since Legends of Arceus, this is the most free a Pokemon game has been. You can explore at your own pace. Team building is through the roof with battling. I get to that in a second. Unity scoring crossplay. You can play with other people in the game. You can see them in the game and play with them. You can play with your friends. You can go into Area 0 together and catch a bunch of exclusives. So you're not stuck to just trading. When I say player freedom has reached a new peak in Pokemon, I mean it. Even in Legends of Arceus, you were restricted on where you could go based on where you're at with the story. As soon as you finish that main introduction to the game, you can go where the fuck you wanted. You can get pub stomped by fucking Erie of Team Star at the beginning of the game at your own whim. You can go all the way and catch late game Pokemon if you really wanted to for some fucking reason. And it was totally fine for you to do that. And then being able to explore the region at your own brisk, at your own pace, was also a nice addition. You could go where I first started playing the game. Before I reached that starting town in the middle with the school, I explored a lot of the off region on the side. I did not even, the fact there is no path you have to follow is a major plus side in a Pokemon game. In Legends of Arceus, they kind of did it, but in Scarlet Violet, they explored that fully, and I think it worked out very well for them. Battling, like I said and mentioned a minute ago, team building is at a whole new high. The fact that there's a lot of things that change with battling, in terms of nerfing things or new items. That fucking Mirror Herb, that shit is strong. Literally just oh, you did that? You want a stat boost? I'll take that as well, thank you very much. So the moves and abilities are fucking insane. That all three starter Pokemon's signature moves are kind of fucking nutty. Masquerada has a guaranteed fucking crit that never misses. That Duck increases its speed every time it's attacked. And that Crocodile is OP as hell by having it increase its special attack with a damaging move. It's guaranteed. They're busted. And that's not the only Pokemon with a busted ass move. This fucking Hammer Fairy Pokemon? Yeah, a 160, 100 accuracy steel type move with no consequence with only being that you just can't use it the next turn. That's fucking insane. It's stronger than fucking Hyper Beam. Oh, Cloud and Miraidon, yeah? Legendary Pokemon. Oh yeah, let's do double super effective damage. Yeah, that makes sense. Iron Hands? Yeah, let's have him just solo the fucking raid by himself. So, a lot of things have changed in battling, in which it makes for a lot of unique team comps and plays. And I think that, in part, is due to terrestrializing. So this is going to be its own subject as well, because this is the niche of the region. This is the gimmick. I think they did a good job with the gimmick for this region. It's cool, unique, new, but it doesn't do too much. I think people who complain about Mega Evolutions need to take a step back and look at what terrestrializing does to the meta. It's where not every Pokemon is gonna get fucked over by it, where, like Mega Evolutions, where some Pokemon that deserve it don't get it, and those fans are gonna be crying about it forever. However, it's not like Z moves, where it's cringy and stupid and doesn't feel all that powerful. Being able to change a type, any Pokemon being able to change a type whenever the fuck they want, is such a powerful ability. It's game changing like Mega Evolution, and it's doesn't feel as useless as Z moves or Dynamax. Like I said, the team building in this game is phenomenal, and a lot of that is in part due to terrestrializing. But it is a bit unexplained, in which I'll get to that again in a second. But before that, I have to talk about the story. Wait a minute, didn't just a second ago did I say? And now, my last complaint for the game. Story. Yeah, I did, and like I said, I was nitpicking then. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's story is arguably the best story I've seen in the Pokemon games in a long time. It's not Black and White level story, but the fact I'm mentioning Black and White is a compliment in of itself. So, it's not the usual story in which people are used to, where, especially in Black and White, where it's not deep thought or intriguing, but it's character driven. The story, it's all about the three main characters you meet throughout. Not all the characters in the game are strong, but Scarlet and Violet has the most number of memorable characters I have seen in a mainline story game. It's in part thanks due to the three main rivals, I guess, is what we'll call them. First off is Arvin. His story is more so related to the Professor and the Paldia region itself. He either has Crawdon or Miraidon. It's a mystery between why the hell he knows about them. His relation to the professors, in which they end up dying. Yeah, mommy daddy issues to the next level. Their parents are dead. Fucking Batman. One walked out, the other one got capped by a Pokemon. And it's really this relation to the professor that drives Arvin's story, not just Area Zero, in which that's what most people kind of want to point to, but it's his relation to the professor, in which it's that story of being left behind by a successful parental figure, about doing what they can using their fame and knowledge, aka the Scarlet Book and Urban Mystica, to help what he considers his closest family even more. Even though it's his mom, you all know Mama Stiff is more important to him. If both were hanging on a cliff, who's gonna get Mama Stiff over his parents? Okay, let's just be clear there. And then there's Nemona. Nemona, I think I need to marinate it and look back still on some other characters, but I think she might be my new favorite character in the Pokemon series. More than Zinnia, more than N, just because she's just fucking Goku. Some people will find her annoying because of that fact, but I fucking love the stupidity of it. I can't help but, it's impossible to be mad at her for being Goku. People find annoying, I just laugh it off because it's that amazing to me. And it takes a rival approach of a different scene we haven't seen before. This character was already confident in their own strength. They weren't looking up to anybody, they didn't have anyone they wanted to beat, they just got lost in the sauce of Pokemon battling and became a champion-ranked trainer all of a sudden. And now they see this promising young trainer, you, and now they want to go alongside you. They haven't had a proper challenge in a long time, and you're the only one that can quell the thirst. You are the only one they can go all out against. That is the Mona. And that's why she's a good character. She's not trying to play catch up. She's waiting for you to catch up. Okay, for people who make fun of the Mona, let me picture it like this. Let's say end of Z Goku just drops down early on in the timeline, fucking before Saiyan Saga. Nobody's gonna be a challenge for him. Nobody. But once Vegeta comes and invades Earth, he's gonna see Vegeta's potential and be all up on that dick. That's what it's like. It's like if Goku was already overpowered and then he saw Vegeta's potential of being a rival and then helped him become his rival. That's what Nemona is. And that's the kind of character. It's stupid, fun, Nemona. I love the character. Let's move on with the next character. That is Penny. And honestly, she's my least favorite of the three. Not because I don't like her character, but because we don't have a lot of in-game exposure to Penny. Most of the time, me speaking to her as Cassiopeia, as just a fucking screen on our phone, being doxxed by her. She's the leader of Team Star. We learned about her problems and why she didn't go to school at first through Team Star, but we don't learn much about her until after the fact, and we meet her as the leader of Team Star, and we go into Area Zero. I feel like it's wasted time. If we got more time with Penny beforehand, as quote-unquote Penny, before the reveal shows Cassiopeia, I think that we might have liked... I think I might have liked her more than Arvin, maybe? But it's the fact that we don't get a lot of time with her as Penny that makes me kind of reluctant on liking her as much as everybody else. Not saying she's a bad character. I like some of her wits and comebacks. She's relatable. She watches anime. But the fact there's not a lot of screen time with her, and that's just kind of there until you're basically almost done with the game, it makes it feel kind of last minute, I guess. I don't know what the proper word for it is. There's the final bosses as well. Whether it be Asada or Toro, that whole sequence was very well put together. The reveal of professors being dead, the parents, if you read the books, which I didn't read it in my first playthrough, so I didn't know about it until I watched some other person's playthrough. Arvin's second parent walked out on them, so for that entire game, they had a professor and that's it. So that's why Bible stuff is so important to Arvin, but getting back on track, even though it wasn't that hard of a boss fight in my opinion, I can see how some people could get swept in the end, but it was well put together. And I think this is what really drove home and finished Arvin's storyline as well in the game. And I think they performed the role as a professor and the Paradox and Area Zero very well. I think that deserves an A+ in my report card. And there's a huge amount of fucking mysteries in the game. For one, the terrestrial phenomenon was never properly explained. There's importantly a disc Pokemon that's responsible for this phenomenon, but we don't know. Every record of this Pokemon's existence is scratched. Even in the Scarlet book, even in Sada's notes, all this Pokemon's name's existence is all glitchy and scratched. There's also a page in which there's more Pokemon which you haven't seen. There's one in Scarlet where it's literally just a combination of Raikou, Entei, and Suicune all had an incest baby and popped out whatever the fuck this is. It may be a magic Pokemon, but I have a feeling it might be real. And there's a giant paradox in the game. So, for those who haven't caught on to it, let me explain it like this. Back 200 years ago, Area Zero in the Great Crater was not fully explored, so there's an expedition team that went down. And after that, the Scarlet or Violet book was made, depending on your version. They published a book of what they found in Area Zero. 200 years later, Sada or Toro reads that book, seeing all the Pokemon and mysteries and wonder in those books. And being inspired by the books, they decide to build a time machine and bring those Pokemon from either the past or the future into the present, into Area Zero. Wait, so So wait, let me get this straight. So 200 years ago, there's a book with Pokemon that doesn't exist in our timeline being published in a book, again, 200 years ago. But 200 years later, someone reads that book and says, hey, I'm gonna bring these Pokemon from not our time into our time. But how, okay, if they were brought into our time through Sada Oto's time machine 200 years later, how the fuck were they in the book 200 years ago? How were they Area Zero 200 years ago if they weren't brought in 200 years later? You get the issue here. And that's something I hope that is explored in DLC. And even though this is the pro section, I have to end it with a con. I have to. In which a lot of this is pointing towards there being DLC. In which case I do not like. It's one thing if they want to explore the mysteries through DLC. That's fine. But the fact of leaving so much of the post-game incomplete throughout. Be it Elite Four, Champion rematch, Battle Tower, all that stuff being game kept, possibly in DLC, maybe even paid DLC, in which case not everybody will have access to it, is a big no-no in my book. It's fine if you want to leave some mystery, such as Terrestrialization or the Paradox, for the DLC. I think that's fine for you to have. But the fact that everything else is missing from the post-game, I don't think it's acceptable as a main story Pokemon game. I don't think that's allowed. Like, imagine Modern Warfare 3, where you take on a second to last mission. Okay, we're gonna kill Makarov. Let's fucking do this. This is it. This is the end of Modern Warfare 3. But then the story ends. And you have to buy a DLC to kill Makarov in that final mission. That's what this is doing, kind of. You can leave stuff in the air, but you can't just cut stuff off. The up in the air is the mysteries. That's cool. The cut off is replayability of the post game. Almost every game had a post game, be it Sun Moon, Ultra Sun Moon, in the Ultra Beast, be it Oras with Deltas in the fucking Hooper Rings, or whatever other Pokemon game. Fucking Heart Gold Soul Silver, and you can play fucking Kanto again. A whole ass other region you can go to in a Pokemon game. Just having the lack of post game really amplifies having DLC. Just leave a sour taste in my mouth. So here's what now we're on to the conclusion. Here's what I finally think. So overall, I think Scarlet and Violet was a very well thought out game. It has a lot of pros, but some of the cons, if they were minor, could be overlooked. However, because there's such major cons, even though there's so few of them, it sours some of the pros a little bit. The Pokemon look the best they've looked in the entire franchise's history, but the rest of the graphics fucking sucks. The game has some incredible areas, but the performance sucks, and it has performance issues, and it stutters, and it bugs, and it ruins the immersion. It has a good story, but it's left incomplete, and there's no level scaling, so even though you can explore a lot in this game, which is something that hasn't happened at all, and was improved upon from Legends Arceus, it breaks some of the immersion of the story where you just fucking sweep a team that you skip. There's a lot of things that make the game good, but these things also get pulled in a direction because of just what I feel it being rushed, or the team not being given enough time to fully finish and polish it. Because the state it was in performance-wise was not acceptable for release. Of them taking the time to delay it even by a couple of weeks, or a month, or 2 months, so it doesn't launch as shittily as it did. And that's not okay. For that well-renowned, top-grossing of a franchise as it is, it's not acceptable. So, for that, here's my Pokemon tier list. And this is my current tier list if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet do not get patched, do not get the proper treatment to make it into a better game. So no patch to make it run better, no DLC or just the DLC doesn't fully do what I expect it should do, just leaving things unfinished, not putting the proper polish into making the game finish. I guess that makes sense. If they don't finish the game right now, this is what I think it is. However, if they they do that, then I think it could settle right into B tier of a Pokemon game. The reason I'm not putting this above Legends Arceus is because Arceus came out complete, came out polished. The fact that we have to wait for this crap is not good, or should be tolerated, or should be accepted. I've been a long-time fan of Pokemon, but there's a time where you have to stop dick riding and give me the dick instead. It's about time we stopped game fucked and knew the fucking instead, if that makes sense. It's not okay for a game to release in the state it did. But if it gets fixes, like No Man's Sky did, it could redeem itself in the future. But right now, it just can't shake that beginning it had. That's attached to Scarlet and Violet. That's attached to the Pokemon franchise forever. Now, whenever you see a new Pokemon title, we're gonna question, okay, is this game gonna have performance issues like it did before? And if they actually polish the game off of launch, I could have seen it being A tier above Arceus, and maybe even I put it in peak. I don't know. This is the most fun I've had in Pokemon in a long time. Not only because of the pros, having a fucking amazing time just shitting on it and having fun clowning on its issues. But not all people are like that. Some of these people are going to see these issues and be like, okay, this honestly isn't a good game. I can't see these pros because these cons are so prevalent. That's kind of what Scarlet is right now for a lot of people. Either people can look past it, finish the game and enjoy the experience, or be so stuck on these cons and performance issues and bugs and launch it had that it makes it hard for people to enjoy the game otherwise. And I hope Nintendo, Game Freak, all the developers learn some lessons from this, in which maybe they can spend more time on polish and making sure the game runs, which I can't believe I had to fucking say in the first place, telling people they should make the game run. But I hope Nintendo learns from this, like they did from Legends Arceus, I feel, because this was, if you take away all the cons, this was improving on Arceus, but they fumbled on they focused so much on improving Arceus, they forgot to work on the main essentials of Pokemon and making it a finished game. But I guess that's what it comes down to, it being finished. So that's all I get to say. That's all I'm saying. That's it. So for those who stuck around for the long haul, thank you for my rant. I guess it is a rant, but it's also my honest take on Scarlet and Violet. You can just throw me around on Twitter if you want, I don't care. But that's gonna be it. Maybe I'll do more reviews like this in the future. Who the fuck knows? So, I guess see y'all next time in the next video.